Hello, wishing you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time you're watching this recorded um, webinar. Now, this is additional module that I am including based on the feedback that I have received from all the participants of this NLP masterclass. Now, the idea of neuro-linguistic programming is to constantly look out for feedback and then turn it into a feed forward. What I mean by that is to identify what can be continuously improved and then make it better as we move on. And the same principle has been applied with this masterclass as well. What I'm trying to do here is constantly ask for feedback from the participants and then convert it into an improvement initiative to move ahead with this master class. So for all of those who are watching, this is based on what we have received as a feedback from you, and we have tried to incorporate that as a part of this particular webinar of this module. Now, without much ado, what I would like to do is to share my screen with you, because today's topic is going to be a very, very interesting topic. One of the participants from uh, the sessions did mention this about knowing more about the usage of the words in everyday vocabulary. And that's why I have included this as a module for the NLP masterclass. And of course, it is called the Conversational Hypnosis Planner module. I'm sure the name itself is it raises a lot of curiosity in terms of what is conversational hypnosis and how can we incorporate that as a part of our everyday lives. So, as I would like to impress upon the fact that it cannot be emphasized enough how conversational hypnosis is the root skill for any person to learn. Because this skill, once you have learned, will cause you to be successful in anything that you are doing or you would like to do in the future. So you may ask me, uh, how is it true? Because conversational hypnosis, and how do we use it in our everyday life? And that's exactly what this module I have prepared for is. Now, it is true because all your social interactions, whether you are at work, whether you are with your family, whether you are marketing your product, whether you are learning a new skill, you are building a reputation for yourself or with others, we are getting um, when you're conversing with people, right? Or you are either, as we always say, either influencing or getting influence in demonstrating your skills. And all of these things that we are currently talking about is through the use of your words, rather, as mentioned here, through the artistic use of your words. Now, we do not focus enough on the way we use our words in our routine life. And as I said, one of the feedback that I have received from one of the participants was to incorporate, Avinash, how do I use this or not use certain words in my work life or in my routine daily life? And for me, my answer would be yes, it is words, words, and more words. Words are the dominating factor that would make or break a complete future of a person. Now, how is what we are going to see in this particular webinar. So, before we move into the usage of words, we need to understand that there are certain representation styles or learning preferences for each of us. So, every person that you communicate with has a preferred style of learning. And there are around 76 different meta program tendencies that have been documented, have been thoroughly studied, and have been mapped within this knowledge base. So we are going to talk about four styles which are predominantly existing in most of us. Rather, in all of us, you would see one or the other style predominantly existing at any given point in time. So, based on the situation, you would find that certain people have a certain preferential representation style or a preference for learning. And these are four styles which you would come to know based on the usage of the words that people use. Now, isn't it interesting that based on somebody's usage of words, you are able to identify what is their preferred learning style? In fact, I would be going online soon in a live webinar on the coming Wednesday, and you would find me explaining this. So, for all the participants who have been a part of this program, this is something special that I would like to discuss, because I'm going to go in depth about conversational hypnosis. But in the live program, because of the time limit, I will just be giving an overview. So what I would request you to do is take your pen and paper and make sure that on every slide, when I explain a couple of things, you would want to make those notes, write it down, and you may pass it on to me either through the communication channels, through the WhatsApp. If we have live sessions, you could share those in live sessions. If you are a part of the masterclass, of course, you would have a one-on-one, and so many other channels to discuss those aspects. But it is important that you have something to jot it down, so that you are able to pen down your thoughts, your queries, and then share it with me for us to deliberate more about it to get the maximum out of this particular module. So basically, they people think in pictures, people think in terms of sounds, people think in terms of feelings, or people think in terms of information. So there are four buckets that people learning process goes in, or their style of representation is put in one of those buckets. At any given point of time, when a person speaks, he is into either in a visual mode, either he is into a auditory mode, or he is in a kinesthetic mode, or the fourth one is also called as auditory digital mode. Now, these words which describe the preferred system or the preferred learning or the preferred method of learning for people are called predicates. In NLP, they are called predicates. For those who have enrolled in the NLP masterclass, they would receive a ebook as a part of this program, and you would find that this ebook covers on page 17 this particular reference in depth. So the first bucket of where people fall in is visuals. Now these are the people who think, learn, speak visually. They memorize by seeing pictures, and are less distracted by noise. So they get engrossed in looking at the visuals, and they are less distracted because of sounds. Often they have trouble remembering and are bored by long verbal instructions because their mind may wander. Now, if you see the way this presentation has been built, or the entire master class, the NLP master class has been built on the grounds of NLP. So it has all the modes of being visual, of being auditory, of being kinesthetic, okay, and auditory digital, that means information. So I always say in my class that there is no way that you cannot not learn NLP once you go through this NLP masterclass. And I'm so glad that you have been a part of this, because now you will be able to know this technique of identifying people's representational systems, and how you can build a rapport using these representation systems. So for example, once you know that someone is a visual or someone is an auditory person, what happens is that you are able to build an instant rapport with him because of the known use of their words, and you replicating those in the same format of your representational system. So the advantage that you have, which most others wouldn't have, is that you know about this technique. And when you speak about these using speak or communicate using these words, you are prone to establish that rapport very quickly with the people who have been using those different representation styles. So for example, if you know someone who is a photographer, someone who likes to take pictures, right, and you meet him, it's you would see in the way he or she uses the words that he is more visual. You can change your representation style irrespective of what it is into a visual mode by just using certain words. So the question would be, what are these words that you would be using? So this is a list of words that you see here, but do not have the literal meaning. So I'll give you an example. What happens is these visuals would usually use words like, you see what I'm saying, or I'm looking forward to it, or I view this in a different, completely different way. Well, this appears to be distracting, right? Okay, can you show something better? And it dawned on to me that you have done this, okay. Or and these, I could go on with the examples, but you get the picture, yes. So I hope this is crystal clear in what I want to communicate with those visuals, and there is no more haziness, there is no more fog around what we are communicating on this particular slide. So if it's okay, what we'll do now is we'll move on to the next one, which is the auditory style of learning or auditory representation system. Now, these are the people who are typically distracted by noise. Because they are auditory, they have a very keen, very sharp ears for various sounds. So they can get distracted by different sounds. They can repeat things back to you easily and learn by listening. So if you know someone who always repeats what you say, right, or he or she closes his eyes and then, well, go on, I'm listening, right? They like music, so most of the musical people have a good ear, they are auditory types. Again, it need not be mandatory that all music loving people are auditory, or all photographers are visuals, not necessary. But it's in any given point in time, you would find that each person is in a particular learning style, has a particular learning style or a representation style in each given circumstances. So what is important here is that when you speak to a person, you know through his language what style is currently predominant in this particular situation. Then the tone of the voice and the words that are used can be important for such auditory people. So you have to be very careful when you are speaking to auditory people, because they focus on your tonality, they focus on your voice, they focus on the words that you use, because that's what is important for them. To give you some examples, you will see people who say, well, I hear what you are saying, but it does not ring a bell, right? Have you come across some of these synonyms or some of these usage of words where people say, well, go ahead, can you listen to me? Now this is very normal, right? So it need not be that if somebody says, oh, are you listening, that means he is an auditory. But you need to constantly look at the conversation and then link of the various words that are being used to see how people's reaction is. So if you're talking to someone and while he's talking, he uses constantly stating that, well, I hear you, go on, carry on, I'm listening to you. Or, well, this sounds interesting, right? It doesn't make some sense. Oh, wow, this is music to my ears. Well, let's all harmonize, okay? Well, I saw him just tuning in, tuning out. I do not know what's wrong with him, right? But when it came to this NLP training, he was all ears, right? Does it ring a bell? All these words are someone, if he's constantly using this a set of words, you know that person is an auditory person. Now, so this is more about auditory people. The next one is an interesting one because these are the kinesthetics. Kinesthetics are the ones who often talk slowly and are very breathy. They respond to the physical rewards and touches. You will find some of your friends who are very touchy. They are touchy in the sense physical, right? They would always put a hand across your shoulder. They would, while they are talking, they would always tend to touch your hands and then speak. They talk usually very slowly, and these people memorize by doing or walking through something. That means they are hands-on. They are practical people who would like to feel, would like to go through the process and then experience it for themselves. They will be interested in programs that feels right or gives them a gut feeling, right? You see people who say, well, that's my gut feeling. I feel these usage of words is someone who is in a kinesthetic mode at that point of time. So some of the examples that you would use, and you would find a lot number of kinesthetics around who would use words like, well, I feel that this is not correct, or I feel this is an excellent idea, right? Can you touch a little bit more on this particular topic so that I can get a grasp of things, I can get a hold of things, and things do not slip out from my mind, because I need to get this through. I might catch on with the next lesson soon, or you might want to tap into my subconscious to make sure that this learning process takes place easily. I will contact you soon. I will keep in touch, right? All these kind of words are kinesthetic people around. So when you hear somebody talking about all these around these words, you know you have a kinesthetic on hand. And the idea is that once you know what their preferred style of learning is, you would want to expand on that. You would want to build up on that so that it establishes a very, very powerful rapport with you, and people feel that, well, I am a kinesthetic, and this is a subconscious talk that's going on. It need not be felt, it need not be spoken out. But subconsciously, what happens is people would say, well, he's speaking the same language, he's very much like me. This is good. I can easily cope up with him, I can easily gel with this person. He is so easygoing because we talk the same language. And then you have the fourth type of people. So there are people who do not fall in any of the category or fall into all of these categories, because some people tend to use all of the words from different representation styles. But they these people have a fair amount spent which in their own mind. They speak to themselves. So mostly, if you have seen people who are in finance, people who are in accounts, people who are in some people who are in who have IT background, they tend to reflect upon themselves and tend to speak within their mind. And some of them actually speak it out loud. It's like, hey, Avinash, what are you doing? This is not correct. This is not correct. No, go on, move on. Right? Some of the people do this within their mind. Some people tend to speak it out loud without even they knowing that the sounds are coming out very loud. These are the people who memorize by steps, procedures, sequences. They like to be very, very detailed oriented. They like to be step oriented. One, two, three. These are the steps that they would like to follow. They are very, very procedural in nature. They like sequences. So what happens after that? What happens after that? How is this course framed? Are you going to send us recordings? Are you going to send us the recordings first and then go ahead and have these live sessions, or is it going to be the other way around? Detailed oriented, right? You would want to know that this program makes sense. They will go into the details of things and then sign on to something. They also sometimes exhibit characteristics of other representational systems. So you might find these people using words like look. You might find the same person using something like I hear what you say, or I feel what you're telling me. But most of the words that you would find with them is in terms of uh, so does this make sense to me? Yes, it does make sense to me, right? I've experienced it before. I understand what you're saying, and it makes me think because I learn in this particular using this particular process, and then I will decide whether I get motivated by this or not, right? Some other examples would be people talking to you and say, have you considered this, right? Or have you, oh, I see a change in you. Now, this could be a fair change that somebody is looking at, but the choice of words that these people use are very, very specific. And then you would know that, well, if there is a pattern that you see across these people, then these are identified as auditory digital. The AD within this stands for auditory digital. So this was a short module regarding representation systems and learning preferences. What I would like you to do is to go ahead and explore this further by identifying the people that you converse with, whether it is your family member, whether it is your work colleague, your boss, your subordinate, or your son, your spouse, any of them, and just give it us a very, very light attention in terms of what the usage of words. Now, one technique that we use in coaching, because when I coach people, I have a very short time to establish a rapport right at the beginning of the session, and I will not be able to spend time to know, well, let's talk for around 15 minutes and then I establish that rapport. So what do I do? What you could do is to tell them to talk about their best experiences. What do I mean by best experiences? The best vacation they had so far, the best music song that they like, or the musical piece that they like, the best movie they have seen, and what do they like about that movie, about that musical album, or about that vacation that they have been into, and let them describe that. What happens is, when people talk about something that they love doing, when they are passionate about something, or they have this experience which is very, very nice for them, people tend to speak in their preferred representational system. They tend to portray their preferred learning style, and it is easy then to know what their preferred representational system is, for you to then adapt or adopt those words in your vocabulary during that particular conversation. And believe me, it is very, very interesting. Especially, you can try it out today. After this, once you finish this session, you might want to call somebody who is near you and ask them about their favorite vacation, ask them about their favorite movie, and ask them to describe it for you in a very, very uh, preferred style. So you will not use these words, but what you can ask them to do is describe it for you. What is that particular thing that they liked in the vacation? And if people say, well, it was very nice, so you would want to probe a little bit more and ask them, what was nice about it? Can you describe a little bit more? What is it that you liked in the movie? And people would come out with things like, well, when I went for the vacation, it was the beautiful scenery that I saw, the mountains that I saw. Or they would say, well, it was the calmness that I could hear, the birds chirping, or in the movie, that song really resonates with me, or that the dialogues are something that I have, they constantly keep on ringing in my ears. Or, well, I felt a lot more emotional. Well, this is something that this is close to my heart. That movie just conveyed those feelings which I have for myself. And then automatically in the past few sentences that I have used, which is which representational style. And as you practice this more, you would find that people are easily being able to be identified in which bucket do they fit in. And when you converse with them in that way, it's easier for you to then make those conversations really, really very, very powerful. And you can really become quite influential within minutes, because the subconscious, when they feel he is talking just my language, people tend to come together, people tend to like you more, people tend to be influenced by you more. You are in a better position to persuade them, to talk to them in a way which will make them like you a lot, not only in terms of liking as a person, but in terms of what needs to be done, what are your instructions to be followed. All this could be achieved by this representational style. And I really would end this particular session now. But in terms of knowing what needs to be done further, I would like you to please note down a few points, and we can discuss this in comments or in the future sessions that we have. And wishing you all the best. I will wait for your comments and discussions. Thank you. Have a great day ahead.